Iron farms in Minecraft have been pretty boring since version 1.14. The solution to getting more raids was just building another basic 3-villager module and scaring mobs some distance away with a spawning platform. Farms get very big very fast and aren't too interesting, looking almost the same from design to design, and taking up way more space than required and often having terrible rates. A lack of development in the field also left a lot of missing feature requirements like efficient single dimension, Nether compatible, or compact farms. But what if you could tackle all of those features and more at once in a simple to build way? Hello everyone, my name's Emdy, and as you just saw, this is my, hopefully, final optimization of an iron farm concept first shown by the YouTuber and Hermitcraft member NubTech. It is a method to stack multiple iron farm cells next to each other without having them interfere with each other. The idea is storing all your villagers at a certain level and then moving a trio of villagers to a space where they can spawn a golem out of detection range of the other villagers, and then repeating this process for the next trio. What this allows is the compacting of multi-cell iron farms into a volume that is a mere fraction of what an equivalent raid farm would need if the cells were spaced out normally, while being more efficient with higher rates than most farms out there of equivalent villager counts. For those that don't know how iron farms work in general, I'll quickly summarize the mechanics. Also a reminder that this only applies to Java Edition, and I will only be talking about panic-based farms, as the gossip-based ones aren't relevant to this design. There are 4 main things to remember: detections, cooldowns, the spawning ranges, and the spawning requirements. Villagers detect golems within 16 blocks of their feet in the shape of a cube. If any part of the golem's hitbox is in this range, it gets detected. Villagers also detect fellow villagers within 10 blocks of themselves, forming a kind of buddy group. Lastly, when a villager spawns a golem, all villagers in the group are marked as having seen the golem. The golem cooldown timer scan happens every 10 seconds, while the general scan for mobs by a villager happens every second, but both scans have a random offset, which is determined on loading the villager. This causes slight delays between detection of a mob by a villager, most noticeable when they sleep or get up. Speaking of cooldowns, there are 2 timers or cooldowns. The term used doesn't really matter. The first is the sleeping timer, which is the time from the last time the villager has slept. When this counter crosses 20 minutes or 24,000 game ticks, the villager can no longer spawn a golem. Therefore, it is required that a villager sleeps at least once in each day-night cycle. The second cooldown is the time since the villager has last seen a golem. This is a 30-second cooldown or 600 game ticks and gets reset when a golem is detected. The spawning range for a golem is 6 blocks up and down from the villager and 8 blocks in the X and Z directions, forming a cuboid shape. The spawning requirements are a bit trickier. A random column within the range is selected and the highest air or water block with the solid block below is picked. The block the golem will spawn on must have a flat top surface and be made of a material that blocks light. The 2 blocks above the initially chosen block must not be full blocks, redstone components, water, or rails. A villager makes 10 of these spawn attempts per cycle. So let's take a look at one cell by itself. This may look familiar to those of you who have seen my previous design, but quite a lot has changed. It all starts with a scaring mob, either a zombie or pillager. Line of sight to the mob gets unblocked to allow the villagers to wake up if they are sleeping, in time to drop. The cell gets triggered by the farm from this dropper line here. When an item enters, the comparator turns on and the piston extends, pushing an observer to power the block, which runs into the repeater and opens the trapdoor, letting the villagers drop down onto some vines, which prevent fall damage. They land on a wall to keep them at the right height to see another scaring mob, causing them to spawn a golem below, which then gets removed either by accelerating them downwards with slime blocks or sending them to the Nether with a portal. 5 seconds after the item entered the dropper, the clock sends a pulse again, and the cell deactivates. The deactivated comparator and piston cause this ray line to flash, triggering an observer that powers a piston 2 blocks under it via quasi-connectivity, which first pushes this column of blocks down, which upon arrival, has the observer trigger a ray line as well as power the piston that sends it back up by quasi-connectivity again. The signal goes into 2 circuits. The first is a lower launching module that pushes a slime block forwards, flipping into the villagers, then upwards to launch them. The second is a trapdoor that supports a scaffolding structure that when open causes a chain reaction of state changes of its distance value going up the tower, which is used for an upwards delayed signal transfer. When the villagers are a quarter of the way up, the scaffolding signal reaches the second launcher, which activates just when they reach the middle, maintaining their velocity. Soon after, the scaffolding signal reaches the top going into the trapdoor, which opens as the villagers reach the top, closing soon after to prevent them from dropping down again. This is very different to my old cell design, and for good reason. There were a few goals I had with this farm. The main one was having no toggle states. If you don't know what a toggle state is, it is a term used to describe a circuit or part of a circuit that permanently switches between an on or an off state. For example, quick pulsing the sticky piston switches the position of the block from left to right. When pulsed again, it moves it back. An example of a non-toggle state is the launching circuit, where even though I short pulse the piston, since the slime can't be pulled back when it depowers, the short pulse will always occur when the slime is away from the piston, and every pulse into the system will have the same result. Even if some part gets stuck in a certain position due to being unloaded, when triggered again it will reset to the normal state. The old cell design was plagued by numerous toggle states, which made it prone to catastrophic failure when unloaded and made it difficult to fix and build. The new cell is completely free of toggle states, making it much more resistant to unloading and slightly bigger than the old one due to that. But it's still advised to turn off the farm before server restarts. Another goal of the design was making it single dimension friendly. With the old cell, having the golem spawn above greatly limited the options of non-portal golem removal. With the new cell, having the villagers drop down to spawn a golem allows the spawning platform to sit below the farm, which enables the use of slime block based downwards acceleration platforms, commonly called Downaccel, to get golems out of spawning range as fast as possible. This makes single dimension versions of the farm feasible. As a side effect of having no toggle states, the cell no longer uses a water dispenser to cancel fall damage. Initially, I kept a regenerating water source at the bottom, but I always wanted to use vines, even in the old design, as it keeps things much simpler. When trying to implement them, however, I faced an issue where around every 6,000 activations of the cell, one villager took fall damage and I couldn't figure out why. I spent hours trying everything I could think of, but to no avail, and then gave up on the idea of vines. Later, when fixing an issue with the water-based design, I accidentally figured out the fix for the fall damage issue, which is these trapdoors here. What I think happens is as the villagers get launched up, on rare occasions they collide among themselves, and one gets pushed under the open trapdoor and hits its head. There's an interesting and annoying result in that the villager takes damage due to the height it fell from. The way entity positions and damage is calculated means that the wall with vines above will only cancel damage if the villager falls from certain height ranges, which is fine normally but is a pain in this failure case. Adding more trapdoors along the tube fixed the issue completely. The vines also have another benefit. Due to not needing water on the cells, it makes the whole system Nether compatible, and due to not needing portals, the single dimension versions can work in all of Minecraft's 3 dimensions. The arrangement of trapdoors is important and precisely done in a way that maintains line of sight, blocks villagers from getting out of bed above the beds, and also allows them to pathfind to and claim the beds. The scaffolding tower is used to transfer signal as I mentioned before. Scaffolding has a block state called distance, which is the horizontal distance between the current scaffolding and its lowest support block, which is the flat surface on which the scaffolding rests and no longer has the bottom platform. When the trapdoor opens, the scaffolding above it no longer has support and thus gains a distance value of 1. One game tick, which is 1/20th of a second later, the scaffolding above that also changes to a value of 1, and this continues all the way up and can be detected by observers. The scaffolding also helps when building the cell as it allows for vertical movement to place downward facing components. I have also opted for no bud line to trigger the cells unlike last time. The dropper line is almost the same, but I noticed a lot of people had issues with setting up Kaizen's instant wire, mainly because they just didn't see the video, but regardless I felt it was much better to avoid it if possible. It wasn't hard to do, it just looks slightly more messy because I'm keeping it from blocking pathfinding to the cells, and I think it's better overall. Due to the reposition of cell input, I also had to rethink dropper selector lines, especially the corners where it has to turn the corner at the same speed it enters other cells. The wiring I ended up with for this is a bit odd, but it's not directional and it's not too expensive, so that's good. The only time the corners aren't exactly the same is in the mini version for 1.19, where two opposite corners have been modified to hold the item for one cycle, which will make sense in a bit. I've also changed up the clock circuit here from the last time. Turns out, I was taking outputs from hopper clocks incorrectly and Elvango pointed it out to me. A hopper clock with 7 items ends up with the perfect timing of 100 game ticks, or 5 seconds, which means we no longer need a long repeater loop as a clock, and it also makes starting and stopping the farm much easier and safer. The way the clock circuit works is every 100 game ticks this ether clock will cycle, and this redstone block will power the sticky piston with an observer, which in turn triggers the pulse extender and the cell selector lines. The pulse extender is almost the same as the clock, but it has a normal piston on one side and 6 items in the hoppers. The selector lines all trigger at the same time to ensure proper synchronization, and these trigger the observers that power the dropper lines. Finally, the reason I stuck with slime launchers and haven't switched to bubble columns or something else is because they are the most reliable and also the fastest. I tried doing a version of the bubble columns, but it was messy and unreliable due to pathfinding, line of sight, collisions, and more. All in all, not a viable option. Now let's talk about why there are 12 different versions of this farm, despite all of them having almost the same components. One of the many goals for this farm was making it as versatile as possible, so that it can be used in a variety of situations and within some restrictions. One of these cases is the absence of pillagers. In iron farms, different mobs can scare villagers from different distances. Zombies have a radius of 8 blocks, while pillagers have a radius of 15. In the mini version, one zombie is enough to cover all the cells in the farm, which I can visualize with the help of the mini HUD mod. But in the MAXI version, we need to cover a much bigger area, so pillagers or multiple zombies are needed. And to make it simpler for those that have trouble getting pillagers, the MAXI version has both a zombie as well as a pillager variant. Of course, the reason there is a mini and a MAXI version is to avoid having an overkill farm. Many people may not need the amount of items or have the space or have other server restrictions that may prevent them from using the full-size farm. In those cases, the mini version may be beneficial for them and acts as a smaller, more casual level farm, giving about half the rates of the MAXI version. Single-dimension versions with Downaccel platforms into a golem collection and kill chamber, as well as double-dimension aka portal versions using nether portals and killing the golems in the nether have been arranged. The portal versions also have arrangements for chunkloading themselves by sending items back from the nether. Finally, the biggest difference is actually having different designs for different versions of Minecraft. As I mentioned before, the cooldown or golem detection is 600 game ticks, and spawn attempts happen in 100 game tick intervals. This is true regardless of version, but in versions 1.19 to 1.20, there is a bug, namely MC254100, which changes the order of events in a villager's brain. It changed so that the spawn attempt occurs before the golem cooldown timer ticks down to 0, where it was previously the opposite. What this causes is the spawn attempt that would usually happen at 0 cooldown fails, and the fastest another golem can spawn is 100 game ticks later, which is the total time between spawns of 700 game ticks. If you want more information, check out the bug report, and this video by Nico is lost. In 1.20.2, however, this bug is expected to be fixed, so all versions including and above will not have the issue. To work around this bug for the mini version of the farm, I hold the selector items for one cycle every 6 cells, so the cells of the farm trigger every 700 game ticks instead of 600 to allow the villagers to spawn a golem precisely when they can. Therefore, as I mentioned before, what this looks like in the farm is simply a modified corner on opposite sides, so the item doesn't go around the corner directly but instead on the next pulse. In the MAXI version, it's a bit simpler. We simply add another cell per side to make it 7 per side, and with the 4 selector items and 100 game tick clock, it makes it 700 game ticks as the total cycle time, while maintaining the 4 golems every 5 seconds, the same as the 1.18 version. So the rates are about the same for them.
A downside of the extra cell per side is the increased distance, making it too big for a single pillager or 4 zombies to cover, so you need 2 pillagers or 6 zombies. Now let's talk about what you need to know if you plan on building the farm. There's a few things to talk about. First of all, how you can build it in the first place. You have 2 options, either using a schematic, which you can find in the archive channel of the NubTech Discord, linked below, or alternatively you can follow the build tutorial later on in this video. Secondly, what versions you can build it in and where. This farm can be built in any versions of Minecraft Java edition, after 1.16.2 up till the latest version, which at the time is 1.20.1. There is a design split between 1.18.2 and 1.19 plus, due to the bug discussed earlier, and thus there are 6 schematics each for versions before and after 1.19, denoted by the numbers at the end, with those marked 18 working 1.16.2 to 1.18.2, and 1.20.2 and beyond, and those marked 19 from 1.19 to 1.20.1. So only use the schematics marked 19 if you play between 1.19 and 1.20.1 inclusive, otherwise use the 18 ones. As for what dimension and area you can build the farm, the answer is basically anywhere. I will highly advise against building it in your spawn chunks, but instead somewhere else and chunk loading it. This is because the many villagers in the farm will always be loaded even when the farm is off, which just adds unnecessary performance impacts on your server, so it's better to be able to unload it. The single dimension versions work in any dimension, with the golem killing being modified for the nether, and the portal versions working in both the nether and overworld dimensions. If you are building multiple farms side by side, you can space them greater than 12 blocks apart on all sides, including the golem collection of the single dimension version. And if you're building underground or have a decorative build, then you need to spawn-proof the area up to 4 blocks on all sides of the farm. Thirdly, you should also know what blocks you can use and where. The general rules are as follows. Smooth stone is any full, conductive and spawnable block, like these for example. Glass is a full non-spawnable block. Leaves are non-sticky, non-spawnable blocks. Obsidian, excluding the portals, can be any non-sticky, conductive block. Power rails can be substituted with activator rails. Beds can be of any color. Trapdoor slabs and walls of any type. Composters are optional and can be substituted with glass. For the portal farms, you can also add turtle eggs to lure zombie piglins out if you AFK nearby. If you chunk load the farm, there's no need for this. Some of the specific replacements include the glass column here can be any movable block. The glass with redstone components above can be top slabs. Bottom slabs and the glass above the portals can be any non-spawnable block. Glass of the tubes can be any block, glass is just nice for visibility. Sea lanterns of the Downaccel platforms can be glowstone or glass, but if you choose glass, be sure to add some other light sources to light up the pads, preventing other mob spawns. Buttons are important to block vines and golem spawning. Redstone crosses can be dots for a very minor lag reduction. Slime on the outside of the Downaccel launchers and between the pillagers can be honey. No other slime is substitutable. All redstone components must stay as is. I make no guarantee that this farm will work on modified servers like Paper, Spigot, Purpur, etc. The farms have been tested on Fabric and will definitely work on vanilla, but other softwares can heavily modify game mechanics and may break it. It will likely work on default configs of Paper and similar, because I was told my old farm worked fine on those. But for servers with plugins and heavy config changes, you will have to test it yourself as the situation varies server to server.
Why I've chosen to call this farm the WAIFU is a bit of a long story, but in short, my previous design's name would often be joked or even misread as WAIFU by a lot of people. It became a running joke among my friends on Discord to the point where when I designed this farm, people were adamant that I call it the WAIFU. If you somehow don't know what WAIFU means, well, now you do. At first, I was hesitant on naming it this for obvious reasons, but as time went by, I couldn't come up with a better name. So after getting an acronym expansion that fitted well, I decided to stick with it. This may very well backfire on me, but at the very least, it makes for some good jokes and it's certainly very memorable, unlike the last one. So I'm okay with calling it the WAIFU.
Before we get to building, let me quickly go over the instructions for litematica users. First up, make sure you keep the instructions discussed earlier about where you can build it in mind. Before building it in survival, it is recommended to go through the build tutorial, even if you don't follow it block by block, just so you get an idea of how to go about building it. In order to keep the name short, I've employed a naming scheme for the schematics, which may seem confusing at first, but let me explain how it works. The first letter is the size and mob differentiator. If it's M, that means it's the mini size. If it's P or Z, it means that it's the maxi version with either pillagers or zombies respectively. The second letter is the golem removal method, with P meaning portal and S meaning single dimension. The final two numbers indicate the versions they work in, with 18 indicating versions 1.16.4 to 1.18.2 and 1.20.2 plus, and 19 indicating the versions 1.19 to 1.20.1. For example, the schematic with ZS19 means the maxi size with zombies and single dimension golem killing for versions 1.19 to 1.20.1. PP18 would mean the maxi size with pillagers and portals for versions 1.18 and below or 1.20.2 and above. The trapdoors above the cell may show in the wrong state depending on how you place them. You can ignore this as long as the trapdoor is at the right height and position in the block. The facing direction doesn't matter for these, but in other places you should match the block states. There are a few inventories that need filling if you build it or paste it in a server. The hopper timer with the lever must have 7 items in it. The adjacent timer, which is actually a pulse extender, must have 6 items in it. And finally, the dropper lines must have an item in each corner dropper for the full-size version and an item in 2 opposite corners of the mini versions. When you're done building, use the schematic verifier by pressing M+V and clicking Start Verification. By clicking on the errors, it'll highlight them and tell you the expected state. If these states are the results of what we discussed earlier, you can ignore them by pressing this button. If not, then follow the information given to correct the error. Let's finally get into the promised build tutorial. Fair warning, this won't be quite the same as other tutorials out there. Since this design is highly modular and has many variations, it wouldn't make sense to show every version from start to finish. But instead, I'll show you how to build individual sections and how to fit them together.
The pacing is a bit fast to save time. It is recommended to pause the video and complete the shown instruction before continuing. Rewatch it if necessary. These are the materials you will need for the single dimension golem killing platform for the maxi size of the farm. Glass can be any full block, but it's good if it's non-spawnable for the edges. Also keep some temporary blocks handy. Start by picking the central block and pillaring up to your desired height. This central block will also be the center of the farm later on. From the temporary block, bridge 17 blocks out on all sides. Going to the edges of the cross, place 10 blocks on either side forming a T. Repeat this on all 4 sides. Join the edges of the T's with the ones on the opposite side. This will form 12 rectangles. Next, fill in these rectangles. Then add a ring of blocks along the edges of the plus shape, going all around. Using your 2 water buckets, place water sources 1 block apart along the edge of the plus shape. You can pick up water from the newly formed infinite source between them. These lines of water go on all 4 sides of the plus. Be careful not to fill the side borders though. Right at the edge of the water on the inside, place glow lichen all the way around. Add an open fence gate in each corner. Then, except for the blocks right next to the fence gate, place water sources like before on all 4 sides. Again, make sure you don't place water next to the gate. Now place a water source on each fence gate. To double check, all the water should point and flow towards the center. Now in the middle, place a temporary block with an open fence gate above and 3 signs going outward on all sides. On the sides of these, add 3 more per corner forming a diamond shape. Finally, jump and carefully place a lava source above the fence gate
and remove the temporary blocks. These are the materials needed for the Nether compatible MAXI collection. Do note this is not exclusively for the Nether, you can also do this in the overworld or end if you'd like. Glass can be any building block, preferably non-spawnable. Pick a block that will be the center of the farm and pillar up to your desired height with temporary blocks. Then go 3 blocks to the side and make a 5 long strip perpendicular to it a block above. Now place a 5x5 area of hoppers pointing into these blocks. Build a 2-block tall wall around the hoppers. And place signs above the hoppers. Add another ring of blocks to the wall and place 3 trapdoors aside and flip them open. Next, add a lava source in the middle. Now from the edge, go out 14 blocks on all sides. At the ends of the cross, build 10 blocks on either side forming a T. Connect the ends of the T's to the opposite side. Fill in the rectangle outlines. Count 3 blocks diagonally from the hole and build up 4 blocks with temporary blocks. Then add a block on the top. Bridge 10 blocks to the side and turn in and repeat, forming an 11 by 11 square. Add 2 blocks on the inside corners of opposite sides. Place levers on the blocks you just placed and turn them on. Put powered rails adjacent to the lever and regular rails on the rest of the blocks. Now you'll need some mob that an iron golem will target. Zombified piglins are the best for this case, but other zombie variants will also work. You have to get the zombified piglin in a cart going around the loop. How you get it varies from situation to situation, so I hope you can figure that out. For the mini-size collection, you'll need the following materials. Glass can be any full block, preferably non-spawnable. Start by picking a central block and pillaring up to your desired height with temporary blocks. From there, bridge 10 blocks out on all sides. Then connect the cross to form a 21 by 21 square. Next, fill in the area. On the outer edge, build a border around the square. In the corners, add open fence gates. From the center, count 4 blocks and place glow lichen or pressure plates at the end, repeating this on all sides. Then connect them up, forming an 11 by 11 square. Now using your 2 water buckets, make a line of infinite water sources along the side by placing them 1 block apart and taking the newly formed water from the middle. Do not place water right next to the fence gates. You can use temporary blocks to prevent that. Now remove the temporary blocks and place water on top of the fence gates. Next, in each corner of the glow lichen square, place 1 water source. The water should stop right at the middle block. Place a temporary block in the center with an open fence gate above. Add 3 signs going outwards in all directions, and 3 more in each corner to form a diamond shape. Carefully add lava on the fence gate and remove the temporary blocks.
For the Nether compatible mini collection, you'll need the following materials and 2 zombie variants. If substituting the glass, it's recommended to make it a non-spawnable, non-flammable block. Pick a center block for the farm and pillar up to your desired height. Then go 8 blocks on opposite sides. Place a 2x5 area of hoppers pointing into the temporary blocks. Build a border around the hoppers. Then place signs above the hoppers. Continue the border 2 blocks up and repeat these steps on both sides. Place a lava source above the signs on both sides. Go to the middle and pillar up 4 temporary blocks and then place a block. Bridge up to the lava chambers on both sides and place blocks on the ends like so. Coming back to the middle, bridge out 10 blocks perpendicularly, then turn to the sides and place 10 more blocks. Repeat this all the way around, forming a square but leaving the lava chambers open. Then fill in the shape. At the lava chamber, place trapdoors as shown and open them. Then build a crossbar along the back with a block and trapdoor as shown. Finally, place a boat in the middle of the block and push a zombie variant into it. You can remove the temporary blocks. This hopper here will be one of the outputs of the farm. For the mini golem removal platforms, you'll need the following materials and some temporary blocks. Start by going towards the center of the collection and pillaring up 4 blocks to avoid the lava. Then go up 10 blocks for a total of 14 from the platform. On the sides of the final block, place 2 blocks on either side. Place 9 slime blocks going away from the center in line. Mirror this on the other side. Now extend the middle, placing 4 blocks in total, spaced a block apart. Then extend the slime arm like before for all the blocks. At the ends of the slime arms, place the following components as shown. Be careful with the rotations of the pistons. Mirror the circuit on the other side and repeat this for all 5 pairs of arms. Now using the string, connect up the tripwires. If you get launched when the tripwire triggers, that's good. Now go to the top of the circuits and place leaves as shown. Remove any temporary blocks you place. Instead of a leaf, when above the middle line of blocks, place a sea lantern and then continue with leaves. The lanterns light up the platforms to prevent other mob spawns. Finally, remove the temporary blocks left around. These are the materials you'll need for the Downaccel platforms of the MAXI size. The only difference between 18 and 19 versions is the placement of the platforms. Go to the middle of the farm, avoiding the lava by pillaring up 4 blocks and going across. Go up a minimum of 10 more blocks and at the top make a 2x2 platform. The 2x2 center is because the farm has an even cell count. Bridge out 9 blocks on each side of the square. Then extend the ends of the lines perpendicularly and connect them up to form a 20x20 square. Pick a corner and place 2 slime blocks on the edges, then go to the opposite corner and repeat the placement. Going along the edge, place 2 blocks next to the slime followed by another slime block. Leave a gap, then repeat the pattern. When doing the other side, start from the corner slime blocks. Extend the slime and building blocks 5 blocks outwards. On the outer side, pillar up 3 temporary blocks and 1 out, then place 2 glass blocks. On the glass, place 2 tripwire hooks with sticky pistons on the side facing inwards. Add redstone blocks on their faces and place downwards facing sticky pistons by crouching and aiming at the corner. On the inner side, go up 2 blocks and place 2 sea lanterns with tripwire hooks on the front. Using string, connect the hooks together and test if it works by jumping into it. Repeat this for all the platforms. Now go up onto the redstone and place a 7 long line of leaves from the sticky piston. Again, do this for all the modules. Now you can remove all the temporary blocks. Go down to the collection area and check each and every side. If when you look up you see slime blocks, that means you have to extend the collection area 1 block more to the side as shown. A small change that needs to be made is in the corners here without the gap. You need to place 2 glass just under the leaves to prevent golems spawning on the corner blocks. These are the materials you'll need for the Downaccel platforms of the MAXI size of the 19 versions. Go to the middle of the farm, avoiding the lava by pillaring up 4 blocks and going across. Then go up a minimum of 10 more blocks. From the center, bridge out 11 blocks on all sides. On the ends of the plus, place slime blocks on either side, then add 2 building blocks and another slime block. Leave a gap and then repeat the pattern. Do this on all sides. Now extend the slime and building block pattern 5 blocks outwards. On the outer side, pillar up 3 temporary blocks and 1 out, then place 2 glass blocks. On the glass, place 2 tripwire hooks with sticky pistons on the side facing inwards. Add redstone blocks on their faces and place downwards facing sticky pistons by crouching and aiming at the corner. On the inner side, go up 3 blocks and place 2 sea lanterns on the inside, with tripwire hooks on the front. Using string, connect the hooks together and test if it works by jumping into it. Repeat this for all the platforms. Now go up onto the redstone and place a 7 long line of leaves from the sticky piston. Again, do this for all the modules. Now you can remove all the temporary blocks. These are the materials you'll need for the mini portal spawning platforms. Start by picking a block that will be the center of the farm and pillaring up to your desired height. Then place an obsidian block. Bridge out 9 obsidian on opposite sides, then end it with a solid block. Surround the obsidian with blocks. On the long side, place 3 obsidian blocks spaced 2 blocks apart and a block at the end. Continue the block types across the whole platform as shown. Build 3 blocks of obsidian up at the ends of the obsidian lines. Add glass on the top and then connect them up to form the portal frames. Then place glass on top of the higher obsidian to spawn-proof it. These are the materials needed for the MAXI portal spawning platforms of the 18 versions. Start by picking a block that will be the center of the farm and pillaring up to your desired height. And make a 2x2 center on any side. Bridge 5 blocks out and end with a solid block. Do this on all sides, then connect them up forming a 14x14 square. For reference, place obsidian and blocks as shown. Place obsidian around the solid block square, but put a solid block in the corners. Now do the same thing with solid blocks, this time with glass blocks in the corner. Add another solid block ring around this, nothing special for the corners this time. Follow this with another obsidian ring, again with the solid block corners. Now in all cardinal directions, build out 2 blocks from the obsidian with solid blocks. Leaving the very edge. Place another line of obsidian and surround that with solid blocks. Now in all the corners of the obsidian rings, pillar up 3 blocks and cap with a glass block. Then connect them up with obsidian. Now place glass on the exposed obsidian to spawn-proof it. Repeat these steps for all the obsidian lines. These are the materials needed for the MAXI portal spawning platforms in the 19 versions. Start by picking a block that will be the center of the farm and pillaring up to your desired height. Then bridge out 7 blocks and place a solid block at the end. Repeat this on all the sides. Then connect them all, forming a 17 by 17 square. Build a ring of obsidian around the solid block square and keep the corners as solid blocks. Then add a ring of solid blocks with glass in the corners. Following that, add yet another ring of solid blocks. Then a ring of obsidian with solid block corners. In the middle of each side, in line with the temporary block bridges, remove an obsidian block and quickly replace it with the solid block as shown to pick it up. Place another ring of solid blocks with glass corners. Followed by a full solid block ring. Along the midpoint line, place a solid block on each edge and fill the rest with obsidian, except for the corners. The final ring will be of solid blocks with glass corners. In every gap between obsidian lines, build up 3 obsidian and top with glass. Then bridge horizontally to connect them up and form the portal frames. Then place glass on top of all the top obsidian to spawn-proof them. We now have to build the main cells of the farm, but before that we need to know where we have to start building them. In the mini single dimension version, start by going on top of the Downaccel platforms and place a temporary block on the middle. From there, go out 5 blocks on all sides. At the ends of the plus, place a wall and a redstone block to the right. From the redstone block, place a temporary block followed by another wall and redstone block. On the other side, place a temporary block, redstone block, and then a wall. Do this on all sides, and in the end it should look like this. For the mini portal version, start by going onto the middle portal, then count 9 blocks from the edge. The 10th block is the center. From this center, leave a 5 block gap and at the 6th block, place a wall. You'll have to replace one of the glass for this. Next to the wall on the right, place a redstone block. Do this on every side. To the side of the redstone block, a block away, place another wall and redstone block as shown. Also do it on the left side. In the end, it should look like this. For the MAXI Downaccel 18 version, go to the corner with a gap, and on the left side, place a redstone block in the corner with a wall next to it. Leave a gap and repeat the pattern 5 more times. In the corner without a gap, place a redstone block 1 block away from the corner and place a wall. There should be 2 blocks of space diagonally between walls of the adjacent sides. Finally, you should have this result. For the MAXI Downaccel 19 version, go to the middle right pad and place a redstone block and wall as shown. Leave a gap and repeat these wall and redstone block sections 3 times on either side of the middle. Double check that this is the final result. For the MAXI Portal 18 version, on the left of each side's middle portal, a block from the edge, place a redstone block and wall as shown. Leave a gap and then repeat the placement 5 more times. When all 4 sides are done, this is the result. For the MAXI Portal 19 version, go up onto the middle portal and place a wall in the glass and a redstone block on the right. Place 3 more such blocks on either side of the first. When all 4 sides are done, compare it with this result. Let's now build a cell using the wall and redstone block as reference. Leave a gap behind the redstone block and place 2 glass. Replace the temporary block with a forward sticky piston. On the glass, place 2 repeaters facing the piston, one on the 3rd setting and the other on the 4th setting. Place an upward sticky piston and an obsidian block to the side. Place a button on the side and vines in front. Behind the repeaters, place a solid block. Diagonally above the solid block, place 2 glass blocks, then place redstone dust on the solid block. You can make this a dot. Diagonally above the obsidian, place a forward-facing sticky piston, then add slime blocks on both the exposed faces. Add glass to the side, then place leaves to enclose the middle. Place leaves on the slime, a block, and then drop down to place a downwards facing observer. On the glass, place a 4th setting repeater facing forward and a 2nd setting repeater facing sideways. Then place a block above the redstone dust. Using a temporary block, place a glass to the side and a top trapdoor on its side. Place scaffolding on the glass and trapdoor. Another glass and a downwards facing observer. Add an upwards facing piston next to the glass. Put 2 powered rails on the observer and block. This will cause the launcher to get stuck up. Place an obsidian on the slime, glass on the leaves, and button on the inside. And finish the ring with glass. Extend the tube a block up. Place powered rails on the block behind. Then extend the scaffolding till you have 1 block left. Continue the tube 2 blocks up and place a glass block in the back corner. Place a temporary block on the rail and place a downwards observer against it. Put a block below it and a glass block above it. This should push you up and trigger the bottom section. Place a 3rd setting repeater on the corner glass and a redstone block behind it with a block in front. Place an upward sticky piston to the side and continue the glass tube. Place 2 glass and 2 sticky pistons as shown, followed by a slime block. Use leaves to form the tube now. Then climb down the scaffolding to place a downwards observer against the leaf. Place an observer reading the scaffolding, a block behind it, and on the sticky piston, and add a full delay repeater in between. Finally, put glass in the middle. Place slabs and rails like so. Put a button on the inside of the extended glass tube. Continue the pillar and tube up and place open trapdoors on the back side of the tube. At the top of the scaffolding, place one to the side, an observer reading it, and a piston facing down under it. Place a block, then a third setting repeater facing toward the tube and a bottom trapdoor against the repeater. Place 3 beds as shown. The pillars should be next to the trapdoor. Place a block, glass above the repeater, and an open trapdoor with a closed one against it. Using a temp block, place a downward sticky piston with a sideways observer under it. Place a downwards observer here, then add rails above. Next to and above the piston, place slabs. Then place a comparator facing the piston. Place a temporary block on the bed and add 4 trapdoors so all the beds are covered. Finally, place a button on the subsidian here. Now we have to build the dropper lines that control which and when the cells activate. For the mini size, you'll need these materials. There's a small modification for 19 versions I'll show later. Start by placing 2 droppers going clockwise next to every comparator. Then between every set of droppers, place a hopper with the spout pointing the same way. Then finish the square with droppers turning the corner. Just before the dropper with a comparator, place a composter and also put them on the hoppers. Place a solid block on every corner. Next, above the droppers with comparators, place downwards observers against the composters. Place glass in the gaps on all sides. Using a temporary block, add a downwards observer against the corner. Then place sideways observers against that and the other one, like so. Place rails as shown, skipping the first composter. The finished product should look like this. To modify this for the 19 versions, it's pretty simple. Pick a corner and remove the sideways observers, replacing them with glass. Now remove the block and dropper, replacing it with a hopper and removing the item. Place a composter, then connect the rails and remove the temporary blocks. Then go to the first cell after the new corner and replace the dropper here with a hopper pointing to the left. Do the same thing on the opposite corner. For the MAXI size 18 version, you'll need these blocks. Start by placing 2 droppers going clockwise next to every comparator. Place 4 droppers to complete the corners and hoppers in between the dropper segments. On the last cell's dropper, place a note block, an observer reading it, pointing into another note block and 2 observers. Place slabs on the droppers and composters on the hoppers. Place glass in the corner of the trapdoors with a powered rail and an observer pointing into the droppers. Leave a gap, place 2 glass and repeat the pattern. At the corner, turn and continue. On one side, go to the middle right cell and mark the observer. Then go to the right and do the same thing. You should see 5 observers in total between the marked ones. Go to the rail line next to the marked observer and move the block and rail one up. Do this for both marked observers. Now place glass above where you place the temporary blocks, except for this one in the corner, which is left empty. Place slabs on all the bottom observers. On the corners, place slabs and rails like so. On the rail lines that have the drop slope, place a block above the rail here, while on the sides that have a normal slope, place a block to the right of the observer's rail of the middle left cell. In the end, it should look like this. For the MAXI size 19 version, you'll need these blocks. Start by placing 2 droppers going clockwise next to every comparator. Place 4 droppers to complete the corners and hoppers in between the dropper segments. On the last cell's dropper, place a note block, an observer reading it pointing into a solid block, then glass and a downwards observer. Place glass in the corner to get up. Then later from this glass, leave a gap and place 2 glass repeating till the end. Now place glass above where you placed temporary blocks. Add powered rails on top of the glass. Put observers reading the rails pointing into the droppers with comparators. Place slabs on the droppers and observers and composters on the hoppers. In the corners, place slabs and rails like so. At the middle cell of each side, move the block and rail to the side of the observer, one up. Then put a block and slab on the observer's rail. In the end, it should look like this. Now let's add the clock and connect it up. In the mini version, go on top of the trapdoors and on the 3rd block from the edge, place a temporary block inside with glass next to it. Follow this with 2 temporary blocks and another glass. Place comparators on the glass pointing away. Between them, place 2 hoppers pointing into each other. Place a block with dust above in front of both comparators. Above the comparators, place a sticky piston facing the middle, then add a redstone block between them. Place glass on a lever here. This is the on-off switch for the farm. In the hoppers of the clock, place any 7 items. Next, place a sticky piston next to the redstone block, an observer on it, and a block to the end. Place a slab next to the observer and a note block here with a sticky piston adjacent. Add a redstone block on its face, and after extending a temporary block structure, place a piston a block away. Using temporary blocks, place 2 glass spaced 2 blocks apart. Place blocks diagonally above these, and hoppers in the middle pointing into each other. Put comparators on the glass and redstone dust behind the pistons on some glass. Under the slab in the middle, place a downward sticky piston and a note block adjacent. Put 6 items in the hoppers, then cover them up with composters. Above the note block, place an observer, then go out with glass on all sides, stopping 1 block from the edge. Use slabs to spawn-proof the pulse extender and cover the clock with glass. Place a block and slab on the observer, then put rails on the glass lines. At the ends of each rail line, place an observer with a block behind. Then put slabs on these blocks to finish. Now to connect the clock to the farm. In the 18 version, start by going to the sides with 2 flat rails with a block that has the other side with 2 flat rails and a block on the right. Go down the side between them and bridge 4 blocks ending with glass and a solid block. Leave a gap of 2, then do another glass and block arrangement. Place 2 hoppers pointing into each other, then comparators pointing away on the glass. Add redstone dust on the blocks, then place sticky pistons facing inwards above the comparators and a redstone block between them. Place glass and a lever to act as the on-off switch. Then put 7 items in the hoppers. Next, place a sticky piston next to the redstone block, an observer on it and a block to end. Add a note block next to it and a piston a block away from the sticky version with a sticky piston next to the note block and a redstone block in front. Again, put hoppers facing into each other next to the redstone block. Then put glass in a block like so, with the dust behind the piston and comparator reading the hopper on both sides. Put 6 items in these hoppers, then cover with composters. Add a note block and piston under the redstone block. Put an upwards observer above the note block, then on all sides, bridge with glass stopping just before the block. Spawn-proof the extender with slabs. Place a block and slab above the observer and cover the clock with glass. Place powered rails along the glass lines and a downwards observer at the end with a final rail above. Repeat this on all sides to finish. Now to connect the clock to the farm. In the 19 version, start by going to the right side of the block here and bridge 8 blocks from here ending with glass and a solid block with dust above. Leave a gap of 2, then do another glass and block arrangement. Place 2 hoppers pointing into each other, then comparators pointing away on the glass. Then place sticky pistons facing inwards above the comparators and a redstone block between them. Place a lever to act as the on-off switch. Then put 7 items in the hoppers. Next, place a sticky piston next to the redstone block, an observer on it, and a block to the end. Add a note block next to it with an observer reading it, and a sticky piston next to it with a redstone block in front. Then an opposing piston a block away. Then place glass and a block like so, with dust behind the piston and comparator facing into the block on both sides. Again, put hoppers facing into each other next to the redstone block. Put 6 items in these hoppers. Add a note block and sticky piston under the redstone block, then cover with composters, and slab the solid blocks. Put an upwards observer above the sideways one, then surround it with glass. Then put a block and slab above and spawn-proof the clock with glass. On every side from the slope rail under the block, leave a gap with glass, a rail on top, and an observer pointing outwards. Staircase the glass 2 up, then connect to the middle. Place rails on the glass. Slab the observer and remove the temporary blocks. Do this on all sides. Now to put in the scaring mobs. For the mini version, go to the bottom of the middle cells and 4 blocks from the leaves. Place a glass block at vine level, which should be at the center. Place a temporary block above this and surround it with blocks, with a cover block 2 blocks above. Now you can lure a zombie into the chamber, using some trapdoors to help, and then lock it in with glass. Don't forget to name tag it. Alternatively, you can also get the zombie in a cart into place and just leave it in the cart. Now go on top of the holding pod and pillar up 9 blocks, putting glass at the top. Build another holding pod after removing the sticky piston. Get another zombie into this cell and put a block above. Finally put the piston back and remove the temporary blocks. Now to put in the scaring mobs. If you use pillagers in the MAXI 18 versions, bridge out at vine level until you get under the downwards piston, which is where you place a glass block, also at vine level. Build a pod structure here. Then you can put your pillager in here and name tag it. Or alternatively, you can just leave it in the cart. Now go on top of the holding cell and pillar up 9 blocks, putting glass at the top. Build another holding cell after removing the top piston. Get your second pillager in and put the piston back in place. Then remove the temporary blocks. Now to put in the scaring mobs. If you use zombies in the MAXI 18 versions, bridge out at vine level from the second cell from the side, leaving a 4 block gap from the leaves where you place a glass block. Build a pod structure here. Then you can put your zombie in here, either by luring it in and trapping and name tagging it, or alternatively you can just leave it in a cart. Repeat this 3 more times so you have 1 in each corner. Now go on top of the holding pods and pillar up 9 blocks, putting glass at the top. Build another holding cell and this time place a downwards piston to cap it and a slab on top. Now you can get another zombie in here and again either tag it or keep it in the cart. Then remove the temporary blocks. Once you've done this for each pod, it's time to connect them up. Bridge with glass between 2 pods going parallel to the hopper clock alignment. Then do the same for the other 2. Connect up the 2 lines under the gap of the pulse extender. Then remove the piston and node block, putting a block here instead. Now place dust all along this new line and on the block here. The extender should trigger and the redstone and pistons turn on. To add pillagers to the 19 MAXI version, start by going to the middle of the side and at vine level, bridge 8 blocks away from the cell parallel to the direction of the clocks. And place a glass block. Then leave another gap of 3 and place another glass block. Now build pod structures on these blocks. Then move pillagers into place. If they are in carts, you can leave them, otherwise you have to name tag them. Pillar up 9 blocks above the cell and place glass on top, above both cells. Construct pods on these, but keep a line of leaves between them. Temporarily remove the sticky piston, get your pillagers inside, put glass above their heads and slime between the glass. Then put the sticky piston back in place. Put a leaf under the node block and put glass on the other slime. To add zombies to the MAXI 19 version, first go to the side along the direction of the clock, and from the middle cell at vine level, leave a gap of 3 blocks and place a glass block. Build a pod on this block. Do the same thing on the opposite side as well. Now go to the side of the pod and move 2 blocks to the side of the pod, then 3 blocks from the cell of the side, building another cell. Double check that the pods are 2 blocks off alignment. Do the same thing 3 more times for 6 pods in total. Now get the zombies into place, either leave them in minecarts or name tag them. Now go on top of the pods and pillar up 9 blocks, putting glass at the top. Build another pod on this. Above the pod, place a slab and downward sticky piston that faces the glass. Repeat this for all the pods till you have 12 in total. Then get zombies into the pods and again either cart or name tag them. Connect up the top pods with glass, like so. Then put redstone dust on top. Then extend it to the middle and remove the sticky piston and note block. Next, place a solid block a block under the redstone block and connect up with redstone lines. Do the same thing for the other 3 pods. We're almost done now. Time to put in the villagers. This is actually easier than you might think. Regardless of the version, the method is the same. In front of the beds, create a 2-wide walking platform going all around. For safety, because villagers are stupid, add guardrails on the inside. Now you can get your villagers up here by any means of your choice. I used a bubble column. If you need tips on moving mobs or also just a villager breeder design, I've linked tutorials by Logical Geek Boy in the description that you can refer to. At night, when the villagers attempt to sleep, let them pathfind and claim the beds naturally. Remember to open these trapdoors to let them in, and close them when 3 villagers have claimed the beds and put a temporary block above. Occasionally you may find an extra villager stuck in a full cell. In this case, you can use a fishing rod to pull it out, after which it should be able to pathfind to its bed properly. When all beds are claimed, make sure the trapdoors are flat and then remove the temporary blocks. Now let's do the nether side of the portal versions. This will be the self-chunk-loading system, but if you don't want it, you can just collect the items in the nether. These are the items you will need. First, you need to decide where you want the items to return from. The portal for this should be at a height that the nether side can link to, so not below Y0. And it should also be a decent distance away vertically from the farm's portals, around 10 to 20 blocks. In this example, I put it above the farm. The portal should also be in the middle of a 3x3 of chunks that covers all the parts of the farm. You can use F3 plus G to check the chunk borders. Once you have the spot, then build a simple portal and spawn-proof it. Take note of the coordinates of the portal as well as the direction you want the items to go. Then light the portal and go through. In the nether, break the portal you just came through. Now divide the X and Z coordinates you took earlier by 8 and head to those coords. Now if this height is closer to the exit portal than the farm portals, you can build it here. Otherwise you may have to move it up or down. For this example, I'm building it on the nether roof as it will still link properly. So 6 blocks off the ground, build another nether portal in the same orientation as your overworld one. Spawn-proof the top of it, then light it and confirm your linking. You should end up at the exit portal, and when you go through the farm's portals, you land up back in the same nether portal. Now in the direction you mark the items to exit, place glass and solid blocks like so. Continue the tube of glass 2 higher. Then put trapdoors in front of the middle portal blocks. Then place a tripwire hook with string in front of it and finish it with a hook on the solid block. Place a solid block and glass under the portal and tube like so. Place an observer and solid block here. Then place pistons underneath with glass between and a sticky piston under with a slime block. Complete the bottom with leaves and glass like so. Now place 2 packed ice, and at the end put a sticky piston with a slime block above. Add leaves around it and connect with glass. Back on top, place a redstone torch on the outer side of the block. Then on the other side, place a 2x3 area of top slabs. Place 3 dust and 2 comparators like so. The direction is important. Now temporarily remove this glass. Place lava and put the glass in front of it. On the inside of the cell, place 3 signs to contain it. Back to the top, place a 2x2 of slabs, a torch on the side of this block, then 2 full delay repeaters, one pointing into the block and the other way from the torch. Join with redstone dust. Next to the torch, place a downward sticky piston, then an observer under it facing sideways. Then put an observer and node block like so. Put another observer below, a block under, and a top slab diagonally below. Add a full delay repeater on this pointing towards the piston. Back to the launcher, place a block next to it, add 4 slabs from it, then 2 full delay repeaters and dust like so. Then put another block and dust above next to it. Now put a slab next to the piston, add a top trapdoor against it, and add scaffolding on this. Then put the final 2 flat at the top. Place 2 observers pointing up on this, sticky piston, slime, and solid block. Spawn-proof it with slabs and leaves as shown. Now spawn-proof the rest of the build with slabs. Temporarily disable the portal. Place a block looking at the corner of this. Then use the eggs to spawn a chicken and get it into the boat. Place the final glass here and above the boat and use a piston to push them down into place. Light the portal again, place fences at the top, and then look at the corner of the leaves and place a boat. Get in and ride it into the corner. If you look at the portal when you dismount, it should put you inside the portal. Now when you come back through, you can use the same boat to get out of the portal. Now to test the system, throw an item past the tripwire. Wait a bit, then go back to the overworld. If you haven't built an area to catch the item, you can double check that the item has gone in the correct direction. Keep in mind it has a relatively high velocity as it comes through, so it may not have fallen inside the farm. If you go further, you may find it a decent distance away. If you have the single dimension version and wish to chunk load it, you can build any chunk loader of your choice in the middle of a 3x3 of chunks that encloses the entire farm. Use F3 plus G to view the chunk borders and find the central chunk. I'll leave a link to a loader design in the description. Finally, in the mini versions, put one item in 2 opposite corner droppers of the selector system. And in the MAXI versions, put one item in each corner dropper. Double check for any building errors, and then you can turn on the farm by flicking this lever here. When you turn it off, you'll notice that some cells remain activated and golems will spawn every 30 to 35 seconds for the next 10 to 20 minutes. If for whatever reason you wish to have a full deactivation of the farm, then you can run a redstone wire to all 4 corners of the dropper selector to power the droppers all at the same time, so that the droppers can no longer pulse and the item stays in them. When you want to turn off the farm using this system, first turn on the corner lock, wait for the cells to stop activating, then turn off the main clock by turning this lever back on. When it comes to collection and storage, all you need are single speed sorters for the mini version and double speed sorters for iron in the maxi version. Collect the items from the Nether portal by letting them hit a block and drop down. Item transport is recommended to be done by water streams and in the overworld. If for whatever reason you have the golems die in the Nether, then you can use ice paths to move the items. Shulker box loaders are advised. I will leave links to farms and loader designs for that in the description. If you switch versions to where the cooldown bug gets fixed, it's possible to modify your existing farms to get the most out of it, instead of rebuilding it. If you have the 19 versions and decide to update to 1.20.2 or later in the future, for the mini version, simply change the drop a line corners that look like this into this. All the corners should be identical. For the maxi version, we actually don't have to change anything. The 19 versions still work fine, but each cell just takes an additional 100 game ticks to activate. This doesn't impact the rates as it's still 4 golems every 5 seconds, and it's actually decent for the efficiency, but it isn't really needed. If the farm doesn't work or stops working after a while, there are a few things to look out for before you ask for help. First is simply restarting the farm. There is a chance that the golem spawn attempt coincides with the time the villagers are moving in the cells, which means they cannot spawn a golem. Simply turning off the farm and turning it back on a couple of seconds later should make it work again. Another common issue is the villagers not sleeping. This can happen for a number of reasons. In testing worlds, make sure that the daylight cycle is on. In creative or survival, if you see them emitting green particles but not sleeping, then replacing the beds will fix the problem. If your issue is something else, then take a few clear screenshots of the cells, scaring mobs, spawning platforms, and clock, and send it in the help channel of the NubTech Discord with a clear description of what the issue is and details like game version, server software, farm version, etc. Do not ask to ask. If you have questions regarding portal linking, then send screenshots with your F3 screen open standing in the middle of the farm and your nether side portal so we can help with the coordinate calculations if needed. With that, we reach the end of the video. I want to thank everyone that helped contribute to this project and video, some of them including Nico, Ending, Shadowed, Lolo, and Madman. A shout out to everyone on NubTech and ENX04's Discord for the support and feedback, and for their patience. And finally, thank you for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.